All right, welcome into Ricky's Mailbag. Don't forget to like and subscribe down here. Okay, we need that. We'd love that. You know what? This is where you guys send in your questions. I try to answer them to the best of my ability. I'm also on Unfiltered with Bill Colarulo, Savannah Kelleher. That's 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, Unfiltered on 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Here we go. I'm here with Dylan McKinnon. He's ready. Let's go.
Yeah, Daniel wants to know what would your playoff rotation look like?
Playoff rotation right now. I think Zach Wheeler is automatic. I think he's the one guy that you look at and say, well, I got to go with him. And I think he's going to be at the top. I think anytime you could put him at number one and with a possibility that he will pitch another game in a playoff series, I think you got to go with that. Number two, I'm going to go Ranger Suarez. He's just been way too good lately. Obviously, we are in late June and there are still months left of the season, so you kind of got to monitor where he is and how he feels as the season goes on. But the one thing I will say that Ranger is pitching better than anybody in that rotation right now, and I would put him up against the best. I think first and foremost, you have to look at this guy has no fear whatsoever, loves pitching, plays his position extremely well, and could flat out pitch and learns from every single batter that he faces. He's able to make adjustments on the mound as it goes. So I would put Wheeler first, Ranger second, and third, I'm going to go with Christopher Sanchez as of right now. I think this is a guy that has been very consistent. And in that mode, I mean, if you can get 6 innings, 2 or 3 runs from Christopher Sanchez, I think that puts you in a position to win a game. He's the type of guy that pretty much gives you that almost every time out. I mean, he's not going to be the no-hitter type guy, at least not right now. But I think one thing you see from him, a lot of ground balls. That tells me one thing. He knows how to change speeds, knows how to keep the hitters off balance. I think that's almost perfection when you become a pitcher. And I love the way he pitches. I love the way he approaches the game. And the one thing about the two lefties in the lineup is that whoever's that third pitcher behind Ranger, let's say it's Christopher Sanchez, he's a lefty, he could learn. All you have to do is watch that game when Ranger pitches, take what was good from what Ranger did and add it into your repertoire. And I think that kind of works out pretty good for the Phillies. I know a lot of people will say, well, what about Nola? What about Luzardo? I think, number one, Nola, I don't know if he's even going to be built up enough once that time of year comes. You think about him probably not coming back to August. I think a big question mark stands up. And Luzardo, I think his innings pitched right now, he's already surpassed last year, so that's going to be a little bit confusing moving forward. So my rotation goes Wheeler, Ranger, and Sanchez.
Yeah, Rob wants to know, could be Rob Thompson, which bullpen pitchers, if any, do you trust right now?
Oh man. Orion Kirkring. um, if anybody's ever listened to me, I look at the 7 to 8 out of 10. If you have 10 appearances, if you come out clean in 7 or 8 of those, I think you're a pretty good relief pitcher. But the one thing that we have seen is that Orion Kirkring has done that. Now I look at Jordan Romano. Inconsistency has been his middle name this year, and that's tough on a relief pitcher. Sometimes you try to get in one of those grooves where everything's going well, and he just hasn't found it yet. You got to understand he was injured last season. He's trying to come back, and it's just not clicking for him right now. And that could be numerous reasons, but the trust level is medium on him. And then Matt Strom, I still have trust in Strom. I think he's a 7 out of 10 guy. He's going to give you 7 good appearances out of every 10. And if you get that, I think you can be pretty satisfied with that. Most people will say, well, his velocity has gone down here as of late, and that's one thing that's a little bit concerning. But other than that, I think, you have to trust somebody, and I think those two guys, Kirkring and Strom, would be my two guys that I actually have some trust in. Kirkring's been just really lights out here for about a little bit over a month right now, and you just hope he doesn't hit that little swale that it kind of goes the opposite direction. So consistency-wise, just two guys right now.
Speaking of bullpen, Lynn wants to know, are there any bullpen arms potentially on the market that intrigue you?
I think Felix Bautista would be one that intrigues me, but I have a weird feeling if you do the Bautista thing, that might be a double shot. And what I mean by that, it may be a Felix Bautista and maybe an outfielder is what Cedric Mullins possibly thrown in with that. But Mason Miller is another guy, and Fairbanks from Tampa would be kind of on my list. I know a lot of people like to say Finnegan from the Nationals. He has not been stellar against the Phillies, so that kind of turns me off a little bit because those are high pressure type games and high pressure situations for the Nationals going against the Phillies, and he has struggled in those games. So I have my question marks there, but I know he's got a pretty good arm and he would take the ball. Here's the biggest issue that everybody's going to face right now. If you were watching this last Mets series, I think the one thing you take out of that is that both teams are contenders. Both teams need one thing, and that's relief. So there's going to be a lot of teams that are lined up to get relievers, and I think that's not going to be an easy play. I think it's going to be a lot harder than everybody thinks. I think you might have to give up more than what you would actually normally do. But, the Phillies are in a situation where they're a possible World Series team. So how do you get there? Well, you better be able to pick yourself up a couple relievers because that may be the route to it right now. If they don't pick up those relievers, there's going to be a lot of inconsistency as we go forward, and never a good thing when you get towards the playoffs. There obviously is a chance that there are some of these starters that would go from starting to the bullpen because you really only need 3 starters in the playoffs. But my biggest fear about that is these guys aren't used to being out in the bullpen. So there you have that.
Phil wants to know, where's Zach Wheeler among all-time Phillies pitchers?
Wow. I have to put him extremely top 5, I would say. I mean, this guy has been possibly the best free agent signing the Phillies have ever had. You look at his numbers, you look at his consistency throughout the time he's been a Philly, he has been unreal. I mean, 2-3 years he's been in top voting for the Cy Young. There's not much more you could ask for except for him to actually get a Cy Young, and he's possibly maybe doing that this season. Wheeler's just one of those guys who kind of, I would say, putts along, and the expectations are so high that nobody even notices. But I think it's hard not to notice, especially because he's put it together for 5 or 6 years now that has been extremely good and extremely ace-like. So, I mean, you talk about a top-end starter, I think the one thing that comes to mind, he is the definition of it. He has no fear, and he pitches with his fastball like nobody else in baseball right now.
Okay, finally, Poppy wants to know, should the Phillies change their mind and keep Ranger Suarez following this year?
Here's the problem. I'm going to tell you the problem right off the bat. They have Nola signed. They have Wheeler signed. They have Sanchez signed. You have a question mark on what you're going to end up doing with Luzardo. Ranger Suarez also has Scott Boras as an agent. That, to me, is a red flag right there. If you want to overpay for Ranger, and I'm talking big-time overpay for Ranger, I think that's going to happen. I believe Ranger is 100% going to free agency. He is definitely going to take the highest bidder and who's going to go deepest into their pockets right now. Now, do the Phillies have that kind of money? Yes. I mean, as of right now, JT would be off the books. You would have Schwarber coming off the books. You have your question marks with what you want to do with Alec Bohm if you're going to pay him big time in his second year of arbitration. You also have question marks in Nick Castellanos. Do you want to keep him? Do you want to try to trade him? Maybe package deal with somebody? But then that just opens up a whole new can of worms in the whole outfield situation. So, I mean, with all that being said, Ranger would be a great piece to bring in. I just think Ranger is going to cost a lot of money. And being with Scott Boras, we all know how Scott Boras is. He has plenty of Phillies under his belt. And the one thing he's looking to do is make them a payday, bring home the Brinks truck, and everybody be happy except for the ownership. And I know as fans, we just say, well, get it done, get it done. But at times your budget is way too high. And the one thing that's always got to be remembered is that baseball is still a business. It is not just a game to these owners. It's not just a game to the players. What it's all about for the players is making the buck when they can make the buck, and then going to whatever team is paying the most. I think a lot of guys are doing that now, and I can't really blame Ranger. Phillies have had their opportunities in years past to sign him to a big contract, and the one thing he's done is he's pitched really, really well in a situation where he knows what's looming on the other end. So I would love to see him here. I would love to see him here for 5 more years. I just don't know if it's in the budget, and I think that's going to end up being a problem. All right, this is Ricky's Mailbag. You could like, subscribe right over here. Also, you can catch me, Bill Colarulo, Silvana Kelleher on Unfiltered, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Thanks for watching Unfiltered on YouTube. You could like and subscribe down here. You could also see our other shows over here. Go ahead and watch them all. We love when you watch. The one thing, hey, you could also catch us on 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. See you there.